Green, and welcome back to Living in the Go. So today I'm talking to you about wills and trusts, and I know I talk about this a lot, but I got some additional information that I didn't even know, and I want you to have that as well. So estate planning is really what this is all about, and it's like real-time planning because we're not going to live forever, but we want to be able to secure what we have to pass it on to the next generation, or however we want to distribute it. If you don't have children, you might want to give it to charity. But the thing about estate planning is you decide how your assets are going to go as opposed to the state. Because if you don't have a plan, the state has a plan for you and they will take your money. So just something to consider. So estate planning is really the transfer of wealth, basically who gets it and how they get it, who executes it, passing on tax assets with tax benefits, and by doing an estate plan, you avoid probate. So there's a risk if you don't plan. Again, the state will make a plan for you. So documents that you need to have is a will and last will and testament, a revocable living trust, power of attorney, a medical directive, and those are the main things. They come in various forms. For example, the will and the last will and testament, you can also put in there like who's the guardian if you have young children that are minors. You want to make sure that that's in your will. Your power of attorney helps to pay your bills, and that could be if you're incapacitated. Doesn't mean that you die necessarily, but if you aren't able to pay your bills, the person who has your power of attorney can pay your bills for you, because that could be pretty tricky. People don't want to work with or tell your information to some stranger, but if they have their power of attorney, then they can handle those things for you. And certainly the medical directive. And that could be tricky too, because the medical directives, if you don't want to be on life support indefinitely, if you're brain dead or whatever. And so you have to decide really who is going to be in charge of your medical directive. It doesn't have to always be the same person. So one of the things that if you have, let's say, a house and it's jointly owned by you and a spouse, then if you die, you don't have to worry. It should automatically go to them. But sometimes you're married and maybe you had a house before you got married. That house belongs to you. So you certainly want to put that in your estate planning to ensure that it goes where it needs to go. Another thing to think about. So your trust, I like to think of it as like blind, because when you have a will, the will is open to the public, because once it's posted out there, anybody can see your will. But a trust, they can't see what's in there. So you can make all kinds of decisions, decide where money's gonna go, where assets are gonna go, and it's not public record, so nobody needs to know about that. So that's the beauty of it. So again, assets are passed on. They're passed on either through probate, and that's through your will, because if you just have a will, it's still gotta go to probate. It doesn't take as long when you have a will, but it's still gotta go to probate. There's a contract that you have. That's another way the assets can be passed, and that's when you have beneficiaries. So let's say you have an insurance policy, which is a contract. Your beneficiaries get the money automatically, so that's how the assets are passed. Your bank accounts, put them on as beneficiaries. If you have IRA, you put them down as beneficiaries. That's like a contract, and the money goes directly to them, so the assets are passed that way. But the trust that you have, it gives instructions in terms of how it passes. So like if you have minor children and you have a trust set up that they won't get the money till they're 25, you can put all of that in the trust. Now, who needs a trust? Well, it depends. I mean, if you have assets, if you have a house, then you certainly want to have a trust, because again, you don't want to go through probate. Probate costs money. When it goes through probate, you have to pay all those fees. You have to pay an attorney to handle all that for you. That's a lot of money out of your assets, so you don't want that. There are two types of trusts, and you've probably heard of a revocable trust. That means that you can change it at any time, or irrevocable trust, and that's to keep the guardrails on. So if you do an irrevocable, it means that you want your wishes to be done exactly the way you want, and let's say relatives want to take your money or take somebody to court. Irrevocable means they can't touch that, and so it's locked in. Those are the guardrails that you put up. It also, again, prevents you from going to probate. There are 5 roles that you want to consider in terms of when you're setting up your estate. The executor, that person, they settle your estate for you. They make sure that everything is done correctly. Sometimes an executor, well, most of the time, they get a little bit of fee out of that estate, but because they have a lot of work to do. A guardian, another role, that's the person who's going to be responsible for your minor children. The executor and the guardian, again, don't have to be the same people. The trustee, that's typically you administer your trust until you die, and then it goes to the executor or whatever. Your power of attorney, again, doesn't have to be the same individual, because there might be somebody that you feel is better at handling your bills, your assets, because there are some relatives don't necessarily want them to be in charge of the money. I'm just saying. And then your healthcare proxy. If your family is very, very emotional, and you know they are, and you have concerns that if they don't want to follow your wishes, like you want to have the life support taken off if you're brain dead, but they emotional, they don't want to do it, then you might have to look at who is going to be your health proxy to make sure that they're going to follow all the rules. So estate planning is helpful. I would recommend it. I have a trust because, I'm trying to be responsible and make sure things go the way they should. So a little bit of information. Hope that helps. Thanks so much and have a great day.